All right, so week 15 is upon us. I still got to do the week 15 pregame video with Miami coming up. This video I think I'm going to make separately on its own because I saw something interesting this week with Zach Wilson, and I figured let me just make a little video about this on its own. I saw an article in the paper that said, now, he had his career game against the Texans, and there's no doubt that this guy's career has been a roller coaster with the Jets. I mean, how many times you going to bench the guy, and so on and so forth, right? I made a ton of videos where I talked about how, how could he remain on the team at this point after all the shit that's gone on? But he comes out, he has a game like he had last week, and then you're like, you know what? If he could play the rest of the season like that, then you know what? Maybe you think about keeping him, right? Now, here's the interesting thing. I saw an article, and I'm going to put it up on the screen, okay? In this article, it talks about how in his hometown in Utah, right? Apparently, there's some type of a local paper over there, and who knows? Maybe they have some inside, information that we don't have over here. I don't know. But apparently an article came out in this Utah paper that said when the Jets benched him, they told him that they would be trading him in the offseason. And most likely, now that was denied by, Saleh, and I think the organization denied that they said that. But if you ask me, that is believable that, when they benched him, that they maybe pulled him into the office after that game and said, look, man, we're going to just have a new start here on both sides of the fence. You know what I'm saying? So it's believable to me that the Jets told him that that's it. After the season, you're going to get traded. Now, here's the interesting thing. If that's true, and I think it is true, right? And it makes sense that it would be true because 2 weeks later, he comes out after not playing for 2 weeks, right? He comes out and he has the game of his life against the Texans. He played the best I've ever seen him play. He was relaxed. It looked like he had no pressure on him. Maybe that's because in his brain, he ain't on the Jets anymore. What does it matter? You know what I'm saying? If they told him they were going to trade him. Now, here's where this gets crazy to me, all right? If he has another 4 games the way he played against the Texans, then how do you let him go? Because now all of a sudden he's playing the way he was supposed to play, the way you anticipated him to play when you drafted him. So now again, you got 4 games left, and it wouldn't be the first time that he would regress after a good game. So we'll see what happens. But to me now, this throws a wrench into a lot of stuff because, if they did tell him they were going to trade him, are they going to stick with that if this guy plays great in the next 4 games? I mean, how do you let him go if he has 5 great games in a row and he wins out? And let's say they even get into the playoffs at that point. You know what I mean? Like, how do you let him go at that point? If they stick to their guns and they still trade him, then at least they will get a good pick for him. Because if he showcases himself like that, but then it's like, okay, he finally clicked as a quarterback. He just won 5 in a row. He got you into the playoffs. And, now what are you going to do? You're going to trade him? So it's interesting. It makes sense. Like I said, it's believable to me that they did say that to him. Even though they denied it. And like I said, what do you do now? If he plays like shit and they lose games after this and it's back to the old Zach, trade him. But just take a look at the way he came out in that game against the Texans. He looked the most relaxed I think I've ever seen him look. he was playing like it was like he saw the field. He was getting rid of the ball fast. His throws were accurate. He just had a career game. So, is that because they told him they were going to trade him, and now all the pressure's off now? So, you know what I mean? Like, something made him play really well. And if you ask me, aside from what we're talking about here, he had to play well anyway, just for his own sake at that point. And I said it in that pre-game Texan video. I said, if there was a game where he was going to come out and prove something, that was the game, because all of the ingredients were there for that to happen. So, and it did happen, But like I said, is this, this little thing behind the closed doors about them already telling him that he was going to get traded in the offseason, was that also a factor here in him playing as well as he did in that game? So, like I said, just a little tidbit. I thought it was interesting. And but it does it only complicates the situation, okay, if he wins out now. What are they going to be like? Oh, Zach, we changed our mind. We want to keep you now. It'll be interesting to see what happens, because I actually think they probably did tell him that, because, like I said, it's almost like embarrassing at that point what they were doing to him. Listen, he was playing like shit, should have been benched, but like they did it over and over. But the way I see it, it's a believable thing, and they most likely did tell him that, because, like I said, they probably said, hey, man, how many times can we do this? Let's just get rid of him at this point, and let's be straight up with him, and let's just tell him, that's it. We're not going to do this to you anymore, and we're going to trade you at this point. So, and then, boom, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, this guy comes out and plays like, plays like he was the best pick in that draft. So, we'll see what happens, man. What are you gonna do, man? It's never ending with this team. Now, here's the other thing. He wins out. He gets them into the playoffs or close to the playoffs. Plays great. Now you got to eat your words, man, because I don't see them getting rid of him if that happens. Okay, then you keep him on the team, and then you have Rodgers come in next year. But now again, there's another wrench. Okay, because let's say he plays great, finishes the season strong. Now he's got momentum. He's playing well. Now you're just gonna bench him for 2 years. So it's a clusterfuck. But I just thought it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, and I just thought it was an interesting little thing to talk about with Zach. So we'll see what happens.